dust them off?
Well, we took a little side trip to see Jim Rochester at Border Press again in Rouse's Point. How are you, James?
Pretty fair, pretty fair.
I'm pretty fair, too, for an old guy. But you just continue to be more famous every day.
Oh, my God. Yeah,
Open the newspaper.
Well, I made it another year. I know.
You know, that's what I do every day. My feet hit the floor, and I know I'm going to have a good day.
That's right.
We came here to talk about this.
Okay.
Tell me why you got involved in this project and what it's all about.
Well, it's when I bought the equipment of Woody McClellans after he passed away, I happened to open one of the boxes that I had here, and this loose leaf book was there, and it had a little bit of history and about the two wars, so 1812 and 1816, and a little bit about the burials in the area and pensioners, and so it hung around my shop for years, and I decided maybe we better make a few copies and give them to the legions and so forth. But after a little publicity, people started getting interested in, so I'm selling them at a fair price.
Isn't that great? So you just decided to do something. You always knew it was in that box?
I knew it was in the box.
Is it? Well, you got to explain to people.
I pulled it out of the box. So.
Oh, yeah. But for those people who are watching this who have no idea, tell them who Woody McClelland was.
Woody McClelland was a printer in Champlain, and he was a historian, and he was, what I'd say, one of the more excellent printers. You know, he handled a handset type into perfection, and he had all the fonts and the caps, lower cases, and the whole works that you should have to be. And he used to put out publications, historical publications, and it started out, I mean, that's what originally the shop, I think his father, Hugh, started the shop to do was historical things. And I don't know, for some reason or other, they became commercial. So I became, fairly good friends with Woody, and when I first started my place in the 60s. And he was a jokester, too. He used to tell me, I wouldn't be in business if I didn't think I was better than anybody else, and stuff like that, So, at any rate, after he got a little bit sickly with, I think it was leukemia, and would ask me to go up sometimes and give him a hand to wash his presses up, and so I did. And after he passed away, his wife, Hulda, said that he wanted me to have the equipment, so she sold it to me.
Isn't that great? Because
of the fact that at that time, and it still happens, these letterpress shops are being melted, and they're no longer, some of this type is, you can't replace it.
Of course not.
So that's about it. And then I found this piece of material, among other things in there, and I decided to reproduce it. That's all.
It's great historical stuff.
It is.
For the people who don't know who he was, the McClellans went through and cataloged every gravestone they could find.
Absolutely, yeah.
Over a long period of time, before the days of computers, they started that.
Yes, yeah.
And it's been redone now by Clyde Rabideau Sr. Spent a couple of years on his hands and knees in these little cemeteries, but that in and of itself was wonderful for people who are interested in genealogy.
Absolutely,
yeah. You've had a good time in this little shop called
I have.
Up here.
I have.
You've had your hands on a lot of historical material.
Yeah.
You've helped a lot of people out by being the hometown border press.
I never considered myself a historian, but I've had a lot of help. Calvin's given me a lot of help.
Yes, I know, but I don't consider myself a historian, but we're interested in history.
Yes, I am too.
Especially the history of this area, and to uncover this material.
Yep.
And you never dreamed that that this thing was going to take off like this, did you?
No, I didn't. No. I expect that there will be quite a few people that are interested in the history of the area that will like it, and there's a lot of names in there that might They might be related to a lot of people in this area.
Oh, that's absolutely, that's true.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're building up, as I've said many times before, to a fever pitch. The battle of the War of 1812.
Right.
And here we are coming up on, we're in 2011 now. That means next year's 2012.
That's right.
That's the 200th anniversary of that battle, and they're going to start to celebrate early.
Right, yeah.
And by the time we get to September 11th, 2014, you and I will both be around.
Well, I don't know about
We may be
that.
walking a little bit slower,
Right.
but that'll be a huge celebration here
Right.
in the North Country.
That's true.
So, give me a clue as to what's in here besides what you told me, Jim.
Well, there's lists of pensioners, and you might find that interesting. There's everything in there from widows to, it tells about the people who have all their wounds and where they got hurt and so forth. And there are,
Yeah, pensioners, I got right
you
there.
got the pensioners. Okay.
Yeah.
There are other things that aren't really military too that I put in there. Like I've got the chart of ice out in
See, that's interesting to people.
that is interesting, and the
Yeah.
river up here in Champlain, and that goes way back into the 1800s, early 1800s.
Wow.
So the McClellans they kept on to everything.
You got awards of
We've got
soldiers.
the awards, yeah, and we've got the quartermaster reports, and we've got burials of both soldiers, all the soldiers in the local cemeteries.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, I can see that a big cross-section of people might be interested in this material.
Yeah.
Teachers, historians.
Right.
You've got to have a copy in every library in the area.
I've got some few around already.
Do you?
I found other things interesting. There was one soldier in there buried in Glenwood Cemetery that was a captain in the Confederate Army.
Come on.
Yeah.
You didn't expect that, did you?
No.
Now, what do we got here?
Well, those were a couple of little publications that Mooresfield Press did. That one hadn't even been trimmed yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Were these in the same collection? In the same box?
Yeah, they were. But there were tons of these things. Now, Alan Everest was in the building at the same time I was taking my stuff out.
Oh, come on.
And
Come on.
he's got most of these Plattsburgh State had, I think, and I think they sell a lot of these.
Wow. So you thought you'd make a few copies and make a few people happy?
Yeah.
So how many have you printed so far?
I printed about 40. I think I got rid of 30 of them in a couple of days here.
As soon as Grady did the thing with you, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
It's so interesting.
And this plate,
Oh,
I
yeah.
got that copy on the back of the booklet. It's all about, it's about a letter that Pliny Moore, something about Pliny Moore and a fur trade.
Was there a typo in the paper when they said Pliny Moore? Did they spell his name wrong, or didn't you notice that?
I didn't know.
Come on, you're the guy. You're supposed to notice. Did you notice it, Calvin?
I didn't notice
Okay, I want you to go back and check. Maybe it was just in my copy of the paper, because I make so many
That might have
typographical.
been my mistake too, because
You never made a mistake
Oh,
since
yeah.
1960.
I used to work for the
Here's
press,
what it looks
too.
like when it. Yeah, I know that too. Here's what it looks like. It's pretty hard to read on that.
That's very hard to read. That writing is.
How would they make that plate?
How would they make it?
That plate was at that time that was a zinc plate. It was etched by chemistry into zinc.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you got a lot of those?
I got a lot of them. Yes, that came in. They came from McClelland and the earlier shops that I bought.
This place is a museum all by itself.
Well,
I remember the first time we came in here, and I was drooling all over some of that stuff that you have there.
I would like to fix up a back room and make some kind of a museum out of it eventually if I live long enough.
Well, how many How many people have got the stuff you've got? Not very many. Certainly nobody around
I
here.
had a chance to buy a complete shop just this week.
Come on.
And
Go ahead. You got it,
I
Jim.
don't have the room. And this was a total letterpress shop.
Oh, my. Come on.
Come out of Reber, New York, the guy said.
Where Reber is. That's
Yes,
not too far from here.
No, he said his grandfather had it, and then his aunt was still playing with it until she died recently. So
You better think long and hard. There's still room to put another edition on the side
I've been
here.
trying to sell it for him if I can
Oh
find
my
it.
goodness! Oh, I'd love to see that. So how far back does it go?
Oh, well, this guy is retired from International Paper, and it was his grandfather, so it goes back there.
Oh my goodness! You're amazing. You're an amazing and wonderful guy yourself.
Oh my
It's
God.
called the town of Champlain in the 1800s, War of 1812, War of 1861. Newspaper articles, quartermaster reports, pensioners, list of awards, and burial
Yep,
sites.
that's right.
How good people get a copy of it if they're interested?
Well, they can just give us a call down here at Board of
Of
Press.
course, you're easy, Jim.
Yeah,
You got some copies right on
I
hand.
got
here.
a few, yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, I thank you so much for doing this, but I thank you so much for your friendship to me and to this area over the years. When you look back, it's been a pretty good run here, hasn't it? Now,
Been a good run.
did you start here in 60?
1960, yeah.
That's a year before I got here.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was only 23 years old back then. My goodness. Well, you've had a good run. Who knows what 2011, 12, 13, and 14 are going to be, but I hope it's good for you, Jim, and your whole family.
Well, thank you.
My
Thank you.
daughter Elaine took off like a shot the minute we got in front of her desk. But
I know.
she's the first one that faces the public here, and she knows how to do it after all these years.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks so much, Jim, and have a great day, will
Yeah,
you?
you too.